Hello, and welcome to today's Farm Finance Show. On today's show, we'll be talking about the farm economy and its contribution to gross state product. Well, what is gross state product? Well, gross state product is the value of all goods and services produced within a state's borders over the course of the year. It's a very similar concept to the national GDP that you may have read about, except that it just applies to individual states. And they collect information for all the states, so it makes it easy to do some comparisons on a smaller basis. On this graph basically shows you what's been happening in Kansas over the last several years back to 1997, and you can see our economy has been growing quite strongly, just like the national economy has. Currently, we're approaching $240 billion in gross state product, which is up quite a bit ever since COVID happened in 2020, where practically every state in the country, as well as the national GDP, showed a drop off in the value of goods and services produced. Practically every place in the country has risen strongly since, as you can see right here along these last several years. Even before that, though, there's been a pretty steady increase in most years, and this pretty much mirrors what's been happening in the U.S. So Kansas is certainly has a lot of similarities to other states when it comes to the value of our goods and services increasing. Well, what is the farm share of state gross product? Well, as you might imagine, agriculture produces value to the economy and it produces value to Kansas, and when they're able to collect that as well. As you can see on this particular graph, in 2024, the value of farm value products produced and services sold was about $6.8 billion, which was down a little bit from the previous year, but that's mainly thanks to lower grain prices. But for the most part, we're probably looking at around a $6 billion contribution from the farm sector over the last 4 or 5 years. When we take the farm sector output and we divide by the total state gross domestic product, we get a farm share estimate of how much farmers are contributing to the overall economy in Kansas. And you can see when you do that, and we divide those, you can see currently that the farms contribute about 3% to gross state product. That's again down a little bit from the previous year, again thanks to lower grain prices. But for the most part, as you can see, we are in this range here of about 3% of our total state economy is thanks to farmers. Now that really, when you look at that from a perspective compared to other states, that's really a pretty high number here. So not only in terms of the actual dollars that our state produces from the farm economy, but also as a percent of the state dollars, we're probably in the top 10 for both these. So that just kind of should solidify the idea that Kansas is a major agricultural state in the country. Overall, across the U.S., the share of farming is probably around 1% or maybe even a little lower than that. So the Kansas economy for farming is about 3% what it is compared to the national level number. Well, I hope you enjoyed this discussion about the general farm economy here in Kansas and where it's going, and we'll have more videos for you in the future. Thanks for watching.